Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking the incredibly profound philosophy of the Mahaprajnaparamita Shastra and turning it into a map for, well, an epic cosmic journey. Seriously, this ancient text isn't just some dry, dusty philosophy. It's literally a field guide for how enlightened beings travel across dimensions. Let's get right into it. So, consider this massive question originally posed by Shariputra. It essentially kicks off our whole exploration of how and why enlightened beings traverse the universe. He's looking at the ultimate paradox here, right? If a bodhisattva, someone totally dedicated to achieving enlightenment for everyone, realizes that all reality is completely empty and without fixed form, where do they actually come from? And where do they go after they die? It's a total mindbender. We've got a lot of fascinating ground to cover, so here's our cosmic map for today. 1. Origins of the Bodhisattva. 2. The paradox of emptiness. 3. Skillful means. 4. The choice to return. And 5. Speeds of progress. Moving right into Section 1, Origins of the Bodhisattva. Where do they come from? According to the text, a bodhisattva doesn't just spontaneously pop into existence out of thin air. They actually arrive in our world from 3 distinct origin points. They might travel here from pure, distant Buddha lands, they could descend from a celestial realm known as the Tushita heaven, or they might just be reborn directly from the human realm, right here in the messy thick of it all. Each of these carries its own unique cosmic baggage and, of course, spiritual advantages.
And there's this absolutely beautiful analogy in the text for this descent. Like a goose entering the water does not make it wet. When a high-level bodhisattva comes down from celestial heights into human existence, they are completely immersed in our world. They feel the heat, the cold, the daily grind, yet they remain totally untainted by the heavy, sticky attachments that usually drag the rest of us down. They're in the world, but definitely not of it.
But here's the kicker. Your origin totally dictates your spiritual sharpness. If you're arriving straight from a pure Buddha land, having hung out in the presence of a Buddha for lifetimes, your mind is razor sharp. Actually, the text literally compares this to a knife honed on a really good stone. On the flip side, if your origin point is the human realm and you're just returning for another human life, your spiritual faculties are considered dull. Why? Because you're burdened by the heavy, dense physical body and all those residual habits from past human struggles. Which brings us to Section 2, the paradox of emptiness. How can an empty being travel? Okay, so if we're talking about traveling from a Buddha land to Earth, we're talking about movement, right? But wait, didn't we just say that a core teaching is that all beings are fundamentally empty? To solve this riddle of how an empty being can travel, the Buddha uses the two truths, and it's just a spectacular piece of logic. He teaches the worldly truth to beginners. Yes, beings exist, they suffer, and they're reborn. That's our everyday reality. But then there's the ultimate truth for advanced practitioners. Zooming way out, everything is just an interconnected flow of conditions, totally empty of a permanent self. The text even compares this to an army's secret password. Only those initiated into the deeper ranks get the true meaning. The Buddha speaks of traveling in rebirth just so we can wrap our heads around the path, even if the traveler themselves is ultimately a beautiful illusion. Let's move on to Section 3, Skillful Means, Navigating the Realms.
Grasping that paradox requires incredible wisdom. But actually making your way through these dimensions, that requires some serious practical strategy. Skillful means, or upaya, is essentially the bodhisattva's steering wheel. It's their ability to act like a cosmic chameleon, taking on whatever form or teaching, whatever lesson, perfectly fits the person standing right in front of them. It is ultimate flexibility driven by ultimate compassion, and it's absolutely crucial for keeping the enlightened being from getting trapped in their own bliss.
And this perfectly illustrates the danger of advanced meditation without that steering wheel. Check this out. If you meditate perfectly but lack skillful means, the text warns you'll be reborn into the long life heavens. Sounds like the ultimate cosmic retirement home, doesn't it? Well, actually, scratch that. It's a trap. You get stuck in isolated bliss for eons, completely useless to anyone else. But practice meditation with skillful means, and you don't just float away into the void. You intentionally steer your rebirth back into the desire realm, our chaotic, messy world, because frankly, that's where the real work needs to be done. All right, Section 4, the great choice, returning to the desire realm. So why would anyone actively choose to come back to this chaotic reality when they could just check out into paradise forever? Well, bodhisattvas don't just return randomly. They use their skillful means to strategically incarnate where they can do the most good. They might deliberately choose powerful royal families, the Kshatriya class, to wield wealth and influence for massive positive change. Or maybe scholarly Brahmin families to leverage wisdom and teaching platforms. And here's my favorite part. They deliberately retain a tiny bit of worldly friction. Experiencing hunger, fatigue, or social drama. Why? So they don't seem like weird, suspicious alien gods. They literally need to catch a cold or stub their toe every now and then, so they retain just enough human vulnerability to genuinely relate to our suffering. It makes their teachings believable.
And finally, Section 5, Speeds of Progress. 3 vehicles on the Bodhi path. Not all bodhisattvas travel at the same speed. The spiritual journey operates at 3 vastly different paces. If you've got a ton of past karmic baggage and your mind isn't super focused, your journey's like riding a sheep. Slow, bumpy, grueling, taking countless lifetimes. But cultivate better merit and focus, and it's like riding a horse. Steady, balanced, much faster. Now, for beings of immense merit and razor-sharp intellect, they experience supernatural flight. The text says these beings can achieve profound realization in the literal time it takes to form a single thought. Instantaneous.
Let's zoom out to truly grasp the scale of this journey. Consider the number 60. The text measures the smallest unit of experiential time as 1/60th of a single fleeting thought. That's a blink of an eye for someone in supernatural flight. But on the totally opposite end of the spectrum is a kalpa, a cosmic age. How long is that? Imagine a solid stone mountain, 100 miles wide and high. Once every century, a celestial being lightly brushes it with a soft silk cloth. By the time that entire mountain is worn away to absolutely nothing by that silk cloth, a kalpa still hasn't ended. That is the staggering time frame a sheep rider is looking at. It's wild to think about. Ultimately, what you should take away from this explainer is this. This entire, incredibly dense cosmology, the multiple realms, the sharp and dull minds, the sheep, the supernatural flight, those mind-bending spans of time, all of it serves only one beautiful purpose: the unending, compassionate rescue of all living things. Every strategic rebirth, every skillful means, is designed simply to lift others up. I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder today. If you held the key to ultimate escape, if you had earned a one-way ticket out of the anxiety, the physical pain, and the heartbreak of this world forever, would you turn around and walk right back into the fire for the sake of a perfect stranger? That, my friends, is the true hero's journey of the Bodhisattva. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time as we continue to decode the fascinating ideas that shape our world.